Net, please speak your call name clearly and slowly and let us know what state you're in. We'll get you registered. If you would like to monitor only, that is fine. Please, while you're registering, let us know that you're monitoring only. If you would, before you try to register, let me check with the person before you to make sure I've got everything correct with them. Thank you for that. First person would like to register for the net tonight, please go ahead.
This is Donna in Montana.
Hey, Donna, glad to have you here, dear. Next person would like to register for the net. Please go ahead. Do we have anybody else that would like to register for the net tonight? Please come now. It is a few minutes early. We'll just hold on, see if anybody else calls out. Here at 5 minutes after the hour, I'll give a shout and see if we have anybody else that would like to register.
Hey, Red Bear, Mud Flap, Eastern Plains, Colorado.
Copy that, Mud Flap. We got you down in Colorado. Thanks for joining us tonight, brother. I'll just do another check. Do we have anybody else that would like to register for the net? Please go ahead.
Hey, Red Bear, real quick one. That net you were supposed to have done yesterday, was that on Hamlink?
Yes, it was on Hamlink. It would have been channel 33, the Monkey Room repeater. Also, if you wanted to find actual ways to come in, you could have went to n7mky.com. Again, that was n7mky.com.
Yeah, I did that, and when I clicked the Ham link, it said "Talk to Me Ham link" link. It literally took me to the Talk2Me USA.com site and nothing else. So I did a search on the web for Ham link, and evidently there is an app. Now, do you connect to that via the computer and Android, not through P.A.C.E?
For the Hamlink Pro there, I have my standard 25 that I use. I donated an IMEI to be over there, just like here on PRS. So that Hamlink Pro is another platform. If you want, Jim, I can work on trying to get Terry over here where you could talk to him, or you could turn in a ticket with one of your radios if you wanted to with a IMEI, and they'll add it to there. So, but yeah, also last night I was going through the YSF reflector to get over there.
Okay, because I haven't looked into Hamlink, and unfortunately I just did a lookup 5 minutes ago, so I didn't have a chance to get deep into it. If it would work similar to Echolink, I would probably just do that. But so yeah, okay, I'll do a little bit more research. Anyway, just thought I'd kill a little bit of time to see if we can get any more people to come register for the net. Back to you.
Copy that. Yeah, it's not like EchoLink. I'm familiar with EchoLink, the app and all that. I guess there would be an app, but for us, um, I'm like I said, we have the ability to use our IMEI numbers off our radio to have that platform put on our radio. So, and there is a couple of channels just like on here, just not as many. So there's a couple channels to hang out on, and there are a couple repeaters that are linked in as well on a couple of the channels over there. So, but yeah, I'll go ahead and check. Do we have anybody at this time that would like to register for the net? Please go ahead. Okay, one last call here. Do we have anybody else that would like to register for the Preppers Net? Please go ahead. Well, Jim, I guess we'll go ahead and hand it over to you, and maybe we'll have some stragglers sneaking in after you get started.
Okay, I had a little announcement to do ahead of time, so after I get through with that, I'll throw it back to you before we get into tonight's topic and see if there's any more that come in. Anyway, before we get started tonight, I wanted to thank P.A.C.E for his presentation on making tallow soap last net. That did prompt me to do some more research on it. And if you don't want to make your own lye or tallow, you can purchase it. So don't let the making lye or tallow be a reason not to make the soap. Plus, we found out you can substitute lard for the tallow, which I thought was kind of interesting. The other thing is I do want to urge everyone to actively participate in the roundtable we have at the end of each presentation. Please ask questions if something was not clear. I know some of this stuff I present is kind of detailed and technical. If you have a question, don't ask it. I can guarantee you there's somebody else out there that would like to know the answer to the same question. You would not only help yourself, but you would help others as well. Break. Also, give us any tips you found that work for you. You would be surprised how a little tip can make a big deal. As an example, I just heard a tip on how to use your stored empty canning jars. Since you need to store your empty canning jars anyway, why not fill them with water as part of your water storage? You're killing two birds with one stone. This was a simple, small tip I had not thought of in over 5 decades of preparing. So you don't know how much a small tip might help other people. So with that, I'll throw it back to Red Bear to see if there's anybody else that wants to register for tonight's net. It's going to be all about communications, guys.
Thanks a lot, Jim. So we'll just jump right into the thick of things here. Do we have anybody else that would like to register? Register for the net tonight? Please go ahead. Okay, well, we'll go back to you, Jim.
Okie dokie, we'll get going here. Anyway, all about communications, part 1, creating an eComm plan. This presentation introduces the fundamentals of emergency communications planning, referred to as eComm. It is designed to build understanding step by step from definition to practical application. This session focuses on defining what an eComm plan is and explaining its core structure before attempting to build one. In this and future nets, we will cover what an eComm plan is, what goes into an eComm plan, whether you need to have more than one plan, what communication options are available, how different communication types function, and practical examples of complete eComm plans. Break. What is an eComm plan? An eComm plan is a structured, written approach to maintaining communication during emergencies. A solid emergency communications plan, it's easy for me to say, should be layered, redundant, power-aware, legally compliant, and simple to execute under stress. The most useful framework for building an eComm plan is P.A.C.E. Primary, the first method you attempt. Alternate, the method you use if primary fails. Contingency, the method used if both primary and alternate fail. Emergency, the last resort option. P.A.C.E prevents single points of failure and forces intentional redundancy. Right? Define the mission first. Before filling in a P.A.C.E list, define what your plan must accomplish. Common mission categories would include family coordination, local and long distance, situational awareness, news, weather, civil alert, community coordination between neighbors or mutual aid groups, or emergency signaling for rescue, distress, extraction, security. You cannot build a functional P.A.C.E structure without first defining a mission. And that's a theme that we go through throughout all of these things, is plan before you do anything. Right? Equipment compatibility matters. A communications plan only works if all intended participants can use the system. Every person in the plan must have access to the equipment, know how to operate it, and be legally authorized to use it where required. Example, if only one person owns a P.A.C.E radio, it cannot serve as a shared coordination method. Or if some family members are not licensed for GMRS or amateur radio, those systems may not work for universal communication. Plans must be built around shared capability, not individual capability. Right. Planning versus reacting. Building a plan under calm conditions allows you to test equipment, verify range, identify coverage gaps, practice procedures, correct weaknesses, and establish standard operating procedures. It is far easier to refine communications during normal operations than during an active emergency. Right. What goes into an eComm plan? An effective eComm plan is more than radios. It includes people, procedures, power, documentation, and training. Define objectives. Clearly state who needs to communicate, over what distance, under what conditions, and for how long. Different objectives often require different P.A.C.E structures. Examples, short duration events, a few hours such as thunderstorms or localized incidents. Multi-day outage, winter storm, wildfire, regional power failure. An extended emergency, weeks without reliable infrastructure. An indefinite grid-down scenario requiring long-term sustainability. Break. Contact list and roles. You need to include the names and call signs, phone numbers and program frequencies, physical addresses or rallying points, assigned roles such as net control or relay. Everyone should know who initiates contact and who reports to whom. Examples, for people who only have phones, obtain the numbers for their neighbors or friends who could relay a message. Now the P.A.C.E matrix, for each mission, you need to document the primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency. Do not rely on memory during stress. Write this down. Right. Next is the equipment inventory. You need to list the radio types, the bands, and power output. The antennas, are they portable, base, mobile? Cables and adapters, spare batteries, accessories, the whole 9 yards. Document storage locations and responsibility assignments if necessary. Your power plan. Communications fail when power fails. So identify your primary power source, your backup power source, runtime estimates, and charging methods. Power planning should mirror your P.A.C.E structure. Break. Now we come to operating procedures. Equipment without procedures creates confusion. You need to define check-in schedules, the call format you're going to use, whether you're using plain language or brevity codes, which we'll cover in another net, emergency message criteria and conditions when you're going to switch your method. Keep procedures simple and repeatable. Training and testing. A plan is not exercised will fail, and from practical experience, I can attest to that. Include regular radio checks, periodic P.A.C.E drills, equipment inspection, and battery maintenance schedules. Testing exposes weaknesses before they matter. Break. Documentation. Your plan should exist in a printed form, digital backup, like your phone, tablet, and durable or waterproof copy if appropriate. If it only exists in memory, it does not exist. An eComm plan is a living document and should be reviewed regularly. And watch the expanded presentation on our YouTube channel for a better understanding on this topic. And next week, we'll continue the All About Communication series and cover, do I need more than one eComm plan? What are my eComm options? And detailed examples or examination of communication types. Now, if you have any questions on what we have discussed here or anything about prepping, please ask during the roundtable or send your question to prepnet.ch14@gmail.com and enter question in the subject line. With that, I'll throw it back to Net Control.
Thanks a lot, Jim. We'll just do a check here. Do we have anybody else that would like to register for the net? Please call now. Okay, we'll move on to Donna in Montana. Donna, what's your thoughts? Do you have any questions tonight?
I do have a question, but I'm kind of wondering if it might not be covered in a future net about this. I'm just curious about what exactly is GMRS and what is the procedure to getting licensed for it?
That's actually a pretty good question there. GMRS is General Mobile Radio Service. And unlike ham licensing, where you need to study and take an exam, you don't need to take an exam. What you need to do is go to the FCC website, register for an FRN number, and then follow steps and procedures through the FCC website. And you pay a $35 fee, and then they'll email you your call sign. Once you have your call sign, you're able to operate on GMRS channels. So you're also allowed to use up to 50 watts of power. Let me break really quick. Another form of radio that is encompassed into GMRS is called FRS. FRS is Family Radio Service, and it is, for the most part, on the same frequencies, the same channels as GMRS. FRS does not require a license. They're lower powered radios normally, half a watt all the way up to 2 watts of power. You can find them at like Walmart, the little blister pack radios. Your little kids' walkie-talkies, things of that nature, would fall into the FRS frequencies and channels. I'm going to give one more break here. Sorry if that was a little long-winded, Donna, but did that answer your question?
Yes, it absolutely did. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
Can I add a comment to that?
Go ahead, Mudflap.
Your GMRS license at $35 is good for 10 years, and it covers your immediate family. So spouse, kids, you can all use that same call sign. It's good for 10 years.
That is 100% correct, and that's something else I forgot to mention, Donna. If you were to get a GMRS license, anybody living in your home, your immediate family, would be able to use that call sign also. They're kind of umbrellaed under your call sign with you, so that does actually make it nice. We're going to go to Jim, though. Jim, do you want to comment on this about GMRS at all?
Yeah, I'll throw a couple of things out there and hope some of them don't sound negative. And yeah, Donna, you should get it. That way I can use your call sign because I would be considered family. Anyway, one, yeah, I agree with everything everybody said. FRS would be very limited range. They would be good, for around your property, and I'm not talking about in town, but so like where we're at. In the flat land, that's fine. You're going to get much more distance out of GMRS simplex. Plus, you have the added advantage of doing GMRS with repeaters, which can expand their distance dramatically. Where two GMRS radios wouldn't be able to talk to each other directly, but they would possibly be able to talk to each other through the repeater. Let me break quick. The only thing you need to be careful with on that is, are there any repeaters, GMRS repeaters, in your area? Our particular area for repeaters, we have one that's about 25, 30 miles away. Now in Kansas, 25 or 30 miles away is not a problem. Where we're at, we probably could not hit a GMRS repeater. It's just something I want to bring up so people just don't think, because we hear a lot of talk about GMRS repeaters, and I don't want everybody to think, oh, I can go out and buy it no matter where I live, I can go out and buy one, and then I'll be able to hit repeaters. And no, you can't. Not necessarily. So I would just, if that's important, I would just check out. And I think, Red Bear, you could probably come up with what the website is. There is a website you can go look up, put your location in, and it'll tell you if there are repeaters around. But yeah, it's a good thing to have. Regardless of what my negatives are, it's still a good thing to have, and it's quite affordable. Back to you.
I also think that people, I'm going to have to hit on what you brought up there, Jim. I think people get very easily confused because they think, they get that license, they're good to go, they can just talk however they want, and they're going to be able to get out so far as soon as they get a repeater. And then they want to know, why can't my 5-watt radio hit that repeater 30 miles away? It's a repeater. Well, yeah, there's a lot to it, and I kind of have to agree with you, Jim, but it is another way of radio communication. So I myself cut my teeth in GMRS, and I do see the downfalls of it. So compared to other forms of communication, but it does have some added bonuses as well to have in your back pocket or your tool bag, however you want to look at it there. With that, I'm going to give a quick break. I want to check, do we have anybody else that would like to register for the net tonight? Please go ahead. Got a tough crowd out here tonight. Hey, Mudflap, do you have any questions or comments tonight on tonight's subject, looking at making an eComm plan?
Not really, no questions. But another form of communication to mention is MERS, the multi-use radio service. That's another free radio frequency that you can use too.
Yep, MERS definitely. So, but with GMRS, I do like the fact that you can communicate up to the 50 watts, and your immediate family would be able to communicate with you as well. Jim, what are your thoughts on MERS?
I think MERS is a good deal, and this is the reasoning why. One, it costs nothing. It does have much more power than FRS. I'm not exactly sure what the limitations are, but it is definitely better. Radios like your Bofang, your Hoshings, etc. That can cover it. It is in the VHF range, whereas GMRS is in UHF, and there is a difference. VHF can probably go further. The lower the frequency you get, the further your signal will go. The higher your frequency is, the more line of sight and the more everything affects it. A person, a dog, a tree, a hill, shrubs, buildings, etc. So having MERS, and Mudflap is a real good one, you're having another option. You're having another band to work with. And it does have fewer channels. I think there's only a total of 7 channels, if my memory is correct. So, but no, that is a very, very good reason. And we will be covering some of this much later on. We'll be talking about ham radio and a little bit about Meshtastic and voice modes and digital modes and everything under the doggone sun. So this is going to be another long one, guys.
Thanks, Jim. Do we have anybody else who would like to register for the net? Please go ahead. So, with the topic tonight, looking at writing down our eComm plan here. Jim, I gotta say, I think that's a pretty good idea. With me becoming a new ham, I'm starting to learn that my memory doesn't play as well, even in non-emergency situations. So, you being a ham operator, there's several different modes of communication just at the technician's level. So, I've been kind of struggling keeping up with everything that I've had going on lately. So now I'm starting to finally make notes and keep written documentation of everything I'm doing so that, I can remember how to properly communicate and how to properly go to this frequency, that frequency, or hit this repeater or that repeater. I just that alone, trying to have day-to-day communications. So let me break real quick. In a non-emergency way, I'm seeing where I'm struggling. So I am going to start looking into this more. This is something I've never thought of. So I wanted to say thanks a lot, Jim. I appreciate this.
Okay, yeah, no problem. No, and that's the whole reason why we're doing this. If you get a chance, I would. There's a YouTube channel, the Ham. He's back in Tennessee. KM4ACK. KM4ACK. You can probably just put in ACK. He does a lot of communications preparedness. He does things in ARPs and things of that nature. WinLink and a bunch of other stuff. Hams may know what that means. Part of his thing for your Go bag, your eComms bag, is having little laminated cards for each one of, say, your handheld radios that may have literally frequency lists. It could have instructions on this is how you program a channel, just very quick steps, because each radio is different in how you put in the frequencies. So just to have that as a little reminder, so when things go the wrong way and you got people screaming at you and they want to contact this, contact that, you have these little cheat sheets, lack of a better term, that you can refer to, which I thought was a really good idea. And let me break real quick. And a laminator and getting the laminating material is not expensive. You can, so you could easily do that. You could make up laminated cards, say for your group, etc. So yeah, it's a really good idea. And let me break real quick again. if you remember, in the beginning of our thing, well, maybe it wasn't the beginning, it was around the sixth major topic that we covered. There was a thing in there about prepping, and I can't remember what the number of it was, but if you go to our YouTube channel and you go over and look in the expanded presentations, there is one about an application that I found that helps you do your full prepping, but it also has a PACE plan part where you can create multiple PACE plans, and it literally sort of walks you through it, which I thought was kind of a cool little deal. So you might want to go watch that video again, and then maybe take a re-look at that particular application to see whether that can give you some ideas, that kind of thing, if any of that makes sense. So I'll throw it back to net control.
Thanks, Jim. Do we have anybody else that would like to register for the net? Please go ahead. Donna or Mudflap, do you guys have any other questions or comments tonight?
I have a couple of comments regarding last week's net on the soap. I appreciate P.A.C.E for kind of reigniting my interest in it. I had looked into it years ago and then just kind of stopped looking at it. Let me take a quick break. And so now I'm looking at it a little harder, and it looks like something we may try. And also regarding the safety issue with the lye, I think this is probably one of those products that you probably want to keep in its original packaging and not break it up into smaller containers or that sort of thing.
Yeah, with the lye, I would say the least amount possible of handling that stuff would probably be the best bet, and definitely keeping that stuff in a cool, dry place and out of the way, out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean? So a lye is some nasty, nasty stuff.
Yeah, let me jump in here. Yeah, it is. It's like anything else. It's like propane. It's like dealing with gasoline or diesel. If you do your own reloading, you're dealing with primers. You're dealing with, smokeless. Well, you're dealing with powder. It doesn't necessarily have to be smokeless, And people have been working with this stuff for a long, long time. And yes, it's dangerous, but if you have a healthy respect for it and just follow the safety direction, do things slow, read the things, it's not that big a deal. And let me break quick. To go along with the research, you buy a 3-pound thing of lye on the internet, and you end up using 1 or 2 ounces per batch. So that stuff's going to last you a long time, And like if you do with the tallow is more expensive per pound than lard, but the tallow can also be used to make tallow candles. So yeah, there's a lot. It was a really good presentation, and it just got us thinking of, let's do a little bit more research. And the more research we did, the more, I think we need to try that.
Yeah, we kind of come to that assumption here in the house as well. So we're going to be looking into that and trying that out ourselves. So P.A.C.E did a really good job with that presentation, I think. So hope he steps up to the plate again.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you get a chance, Red Bear, to look at the little expanded thing I put up about that, where it had his TC's links, but it also had some links in there that I put in about the liquid laundry detergent. Save you a whole bunch of money, not have a bunch of nasty chemicals and everything.
Yeah, I did see that, and I started taking some notes on that. We actually got to finish listening to that expanded and check out your links there and go to that because we do want to check that laundry soap out as well. So thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. And that's sort of why I did that little pre-announcement of really get involved in this roundtable, because you never know what's going to come up. In fact, on that, I wanted to ask Mudflap, since he brought up MERS, Mudflap, do you have much actual operational experience using MERS in the VHF realm and GMRS in the UHF? And can you quantify whether distances are better, for your particular location, or congestion of the channels, et cetera, et cetera?
I've never used MERS, but I am licensed for TMRS. I actually got my own repeater set up, my own personal repeater set up at my house, and I was just out at the lake. I hit a repeater that's 100 miles away, but I'm in Colorado, and that repeater is like 11,000 feet elevation in the mountains.
Right, yeah. Height is might. In fact, you'll hear me say that in one of our other other deals here under radio antennas, I believe. And yeah, that really makes a difference. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm out of southwest Montana near Butte. We got our repeater, our 2-meter repeater, and we were having people check in on handheld that were 60 miles away, and they were hitting it full quieting, and it's the repeater's at 12,000 feet. So yeah, I mean, you can do a lot. It's just that I'm trying to get across to people that the radio's not like your phone, where you can talk all over the United States, all over the world, et cetera, et cetera. There are things that do work, things that don't. And, when you're talking radio to radio, there is no infrastructure. Where if you're using your phone or even these things, there's infrastructure, and there's a bunch of failure points. And any one of those points fail, these things become a brick. So the whole point of this, and let me break real quick. The whole point of this, starting this all about communications thing, which is probably going to be seven separate nets on it, is it's complicated. There's a lot to it. And again, we're not telling you need to do this, but I want to bring up things where you need to think about what's best going to work for you. Like I said, GMRS as a repeater is not probably going to work for us for our local stuff around here, because we can't hit a repeater kind of thing. So I have to tailor our communications based on what the type of communications we need, what the terrain is, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm sure you in Colorado, you do the same thing. You get up in the mountains, and things are a lot different than if you're down in a valley. So anyway, we'll throw her back.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I live out on the Eastern Plains, so it's flat out here. I talked to a guy, he's a couple miles away we talk simplex. We come in full quieting, but if you got any structure in the way, trees, vegetation, all that affects your signal. There's line of sight at that point.
Exactly. And that's the reason the P.A.C.E plan is kind of important. I mean, the military uses this. This is when a unit goes out, SEAL team, whatever, there's a P.A.C.E plan. They know what their primary communications is going to be. They know if that fails, they have a backup. They have the alternate. If that fails, they have the contingency. I mean, they literally have all those. And actually, HF single sideband is a backup to their satellite communications, because that is infrastructure. HF is not. That's basically radio to radio. So yeah, having that, knowing, and writing the plan down, and then testing the plan. We preach here you come up with, this is what I'm going to do if X happens, you need to test that. And because it might not work as you think it's going to work.
It's a very good point, Jim. Definitely. I got to agree with that. Testing your plans. So, especially when it comes to communications, because let's face it, a lot of things that we're used to with communications right now, when an emergency situation, those forms of communication could potentially start failing all around us. So we definitely need something that we can communicate with and get out.
Right. And not only is there there are going to be things that fail, say possibly P.A.C.E, possibly cell phone, repeaters might go down, but it's who are you trying to contact and what are their capabilities. So again, you cannot assume anything, and that's why you write it down. It helps you think. You go, oh, wait a minute, Aunt Betsy doesn't have a ham radio, so I can't contact her back in New York through HF. Okay, then what are your options? And it helps you think about how can I get a hold of her if I need to, kind of thing. So, yeah. Again, it's the 3 Ps: plan, plan, plan.
We'll do one last call here. Do we have anybody else who would like to register for the net? Please go ahead.
It's Hawkeye Red Bear. I've been here listening or what have you. I don't have anything to comment, but I think it's a good deal. But I heard everything y'all said.
Copy that. I apologize. I didn't get your name or your state. I'll go ahead and register you.
I go by the name of Hawkeye. I'm in Louisiana.
That Hawkeye, we'll get you down. I've talked to you before on Channel 2. Glad you're down here. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, we've talked before. I belong to to TC.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Glad to have you join the net tonight, though. Thank you very, very much. We got you down as monitoring, so appreciate you being here. Donna and Mudflap, do you guys have anything else tonight?
I do not. This has been a pretty good net, I think.
I don't have anything else except for I just enjoyed the net. It was a really good one. I enjoyed the topic.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Donna and Mudflap. Jim, can you kind of tell us a little bit about what we're looking forward to for next week again?
Yeah. Hold on. I gotta. Yeah, we're gonna continue on this. A lot of people think, okay, I come up with an eComm plan. I'm good. No. You need many eComm plans. If you're going to bug in for certain things, you need an eComm plan for that. If you're going to bug out, you need a different eComm plan. And if you're convoying, you're going to need a different eComm plan from that than the one on bug out, depending on where you're going. I mean, you need more than one, and you need to know what your options are. And we're going to cover the explanation of communication types. And we get kind of a little bit down and dirty. We get into digital voice. There's a little bit of meshtastic, not super deep, but they all have their good and they all have their bad. So we're going to be doing 2 more on the actual plan. We'll be doing one on protocols. In other words, how you're going to turn around and decide you're going to communicate. Let me break. Are you going to use codes, et cetera, ciphers, whatever. I'm actually throwing one up there that is not going to be on the net. It'll be expanded only. It's about radio antennas because there's a lot of visual components to it. So you can get an idea of You just can't throw up any old antenna on any old radio and expect it to work. And I'm finishing up a 3-part series on the actual communication modes that are out there. You know, digital voice, AM, FM, sideband, all this other stuff, just to get people to know that there are a lot of other ways to communicate, and each one, as everything we've talked about from the very beginning, they have their advantages and they have their disadvantages. So that's what we're going to cover.
Thanks a lot, Jim. One more check. Do we have anybody else that would like to register for the net tonight? Looks like we're going to be going ahead and wrapping this up. If you'd like to register, please call now. Okay, Montana Jim and myself, this is Red Bear. We'd like to thank Donna, Mudflap, and Hawkeye for joining the net tonight. So we'll be back here next Sunday night, 6 p.m. Eastern, here on Channel 14, the Preppers channel for the PrepNet. Hopefully, if you're in the background monitoring, maybe next week will be your week to go ahead and step up and register. Jim, do you have any last thoughts or comments for the night before we close the net?
No, not for the net. After the net's over, I want to ask you a real quick question.
Copy that. Well, everybody have a great rest of your weekend here. Hopefully you have a good start to your week. We'll go ahead and turn Channel 14 here, the Preppers channel, back over to normal radio operations. Thanks again, everybody, for joining the net. Hopefully we see you back next week.
Okay, Red Bear, let me ask a question there. Going back to the ham link thing, they were talking about using one of my IMEIs on my radios. I was wondering if I could use one of the IMEIs off of one of my phone apps to be part of that ham link thing. That way I don't lose anything on the radios that I have right now.
I want to say yes. What you would want to do, though, is go to public radio service there and enter the information in on that. Well, file a ticket there requesting ham link to be added to that particular IMEI number. Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't get it on one of the phone apps. So, I'm not sure. I think, it's just a change of platform on the IMEI is all.
Right. Yeah. Now, is that a totally different network, or is that part of the, quote, Talk2Me or the PRS network, and it's some channels that are not publicly available on this network?
That is a totally different network, and it's not part of PRS here. It's a totally different platform, and it is only for licensed ham operators. So you would definitely qualify for that platform. So there is a service charge on that. If you want, I might be able to track the gentleman down who can actually talk to you and give you more details, and that would be Terry. If you want, I'll try to get a hold of him right now.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to hear the info on it.
All right, yeah, give me just a couple seconds here. I'll get on and see if I can't get him to pop over here.